If you like chocolate and you like mint, this is a great cookie recipe for you. It's my double chocolate chip mint cookies. The ingredients that you're gonna need is you're gonna need 1 cup of butter, 1.5 cups of sugar, 2 eggs just slightly beaten, 2 teaspoons vanilla extract, and then depending on your preference of how strong you like your mint with your chocolate, anywhere from 1 to 3 teaspoons of mint extract. I like a minty, so I went about 2.5, close to 3 on that. So I got that in there. We're gonna want 2/3 cup baking cocoa. I forget what brand this is called, but it's a real dark baking cocoa, but it'll work with any cocoa. It just might look a little bit lighter when I'll dig it out and show you later in the video what I use. It just might look a little bit lighter than my cookies, but I do swear by it. It is delicious, but any baking cocoa would work. Then we also need 2 or 3/4 teaspoon baking soda and a 1/2 teaspoon salt, and I got both that mixed in here. We're gonna want 2 cups of flour and then just 1 bag of semi-sweet chocolate chips. So to get started, we're gonna go ahead and get, I use a stand mixer, but you can also do this by hand. So we're gonna wanna put our cup of butter in there. It'll be 2 sticks. Sun's kind of poking in and out, so I'm sorry if it gets kind of bright at times, but this is where I got to do it. And then we're gonna wanna go ahead and add our sugar. Our eggs. And then our extracts. So we got our vanilla, and you can use mint or peppermint, whatever one you prefer in there. And we're probably gonna cut this out a little bit at this part here. You just wanna kind of mix this till it's light and fluffy. This can take a little while, and this old beast of mine can be a little bit loud. But you just wanna kind of get that mixed up till it's nice and light and fluffy. You may have to scrape the sides a couple times. I'm going to get this mixed up and I will show you the next step.
Joe's picking away at the container here, scraping the sides down. And I look at those eggs and, hey Joe, do you know what the Minnesota Twins baseball team and chicken eggs have in common?
No.
They both get beaten. But they're doing shh.
I should say you want your butter room temperature.
Joel's getting all this whipped up again. Speaking of whipped up, you know what your cookie batter, and the Minnesota Vikings have in common? I don't even have to finish that for you tonight.
They both get beaten.
Anyway,
this whipped whatever. So that's about what you're looking for, is kind of that light and fluffy in there like that. On this next step here, I know people might say I do this wrong. I've been baking for a long time. I actually kind of wrote this recipe up myself. I kind of looked at a few other ones. I had to tweak them. I didn't quite find what I was looking for. So I kind of wrote my own up. But I know they always say mix all your dry ingredients together. Then add it in there. Then add your chocolate chips. I do it a little bit different. It's worked for me every time. Now watch, it won't work this time. But I've been doing this for decades. So we got our salt and our baking soda in here. I'm going to go ahead and add that in along with my, oh, there's my oven warmed up. I warmed my oven up to 350, and your baking cocoa. Like I said, hang in there and I'll grab my baking cocoa in a little bit. It's somewhere around here, and I'll show you the brand. I don't always support certain brands or anything, but this is the best baking cocoa I've ever had. So you're just gonna wanna go ahead and get that stirred in there. You may have to scrape the sides a little bit. So I just got it kind of mixed in there, and you can tell, you know, how dark that cocoa is. And like I said, as soon as I get these cookies in the oven, I'll go grab that back out and I'll show you guys the brand that I use. Now this next step here, before I add the flour, I have my 1 bag of chocolate chips, and I'm just going to give it one more little stir in there. I find that it's easier to mix some chocolate chips in there and make it a little bit more even if you put them in there before the flour. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a stir here. That's about all you need. Just kind of get it stirred up in there. So now I go ahead and I'm going to add my flour. The one reason that I do this is I like to make sure, like my baking soda, baking powder, anything you're using like that, if you're using cinnamon or any spices or anything like that, you get that mixed in there really good. Because I've learned that with the flour, once I add my flour in there, I just want to mix it just till it's mixed. I don't want to over mix it. So, and you can tell, especially in these kind of cookies, as soon as it's mixed, because it's all going to look chocolatey here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my flour in there and mix it just until, and this would be the same if you're using like a hand mixer, your hands, a spoon, however you want to do it. You don't want to over mix your flour. Once you get your flour mixed in there, you just want it until mixed. I've noticed that definitely gives a better, produces better cookies. You're just going to want to take it kind of slow, and you may have to stop it once and scrape the sides down in a mixer, hand mixer, stand mixer, anything like that. You just want to kind of, if you're using a hand mixer or stand mixer, go slow at first so you don't get a big poof of flour. I've done that before. So we're just going to kind of go on low here, just so it starts getting mixed in. Now I can kind of bump it up a speed here because it's not going to poof out, it's not going to come to the top. And you can easily see that's about all it took, and I consider that a good mix. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get this scraped down, get this bowl out of here, get set up for the next step, and then I will show you what we do then.
It smells really good. Hey, you know what your cookie batter and pro athletes have in common?
What?
They all get a mint.
As promised, this is actually the black cocoa powder that I use. It can tend to be a little bit more expensive, but I mean, you look at that and I have a homemade chocolate cake recipe to die for, and I've given it to other people and they've never quite gotten the same intensity, the same richness. I don't typically promote brands, but if you got the money and you do a lot of baking, especially with chocolate or cocoa, baking cocoa, this is definitely the way you want to go. I'm getting a little low, so anyway, so we got our oven preheated to 350. Sometimes this can be a little bit of a stickier dough. If you're finding it's kind of hard to handle, hard to work with, just go ahead and refrigerate that just for a little bit to let it chill, kind of like you would with any sugar cookies or any types of dough like that. And that's perfectly fine. They'll bake up the same way. So I do use a cookie scoop. If you don't use a cookie scoop, you want about 1.5 inch cookie balls. We're just going to get them out on the tray. You want your tray ungreased. I tend to just use parchment paper when I do any of my baking, if you've watched me in any other videos there. You're just going to want them a little bit apart, a couple inches or so apart. I usually get about a roll 4 across here. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get this cookie sheet ready to go, and I'll let you know how long you want to cook these for, what you're looking for, and then be back with the end result too. So stay tuned.
So what Joe's doing here is she's doing little dropsies on the turf. Just like Green Bay Packers wide receivers.
I'm not affiliated with Mike. I should put I'm not affiliated with Mike at this point.
Dropsies and Green Bay Packers.
Oh. We got our first tray of cookies ready to go in the oven. As you can see, there's going to be another tray and a half left in here. So it does make quite a few cookies. You're going to be looking at 40, 50 cookies right around in there. We're going to go ahead, put these in the oven at 350. Mine typically take 8 to 10 minutes, but every oven does vary. So that first batch you do, maybe kind of watch the time, check on them, and then, you'll figure out exactly how long they do take in your oven. So I'm going to go ahead and place these in the oven, and I will be back with you as soon as they are done. They will flatten out in there, and they are going to still be a little bit soft when you go ahead and take them out. But I'll kind of show you what you're looking for when I take them out of the oven. It's been about 10 minutes. We're going to go ahead and take a look here and get them out of the oven. Oh, they smell wonderful. Ooh. This towel is going to be the death of me. So I'm just going to go ahead and check. perfect. Now these are going to be soft and they're going to continue to cook. So gently take them off and you're just going to want to put them on just a cooling tray. So they are still going to be very soft, but you can see that they're cooked all the way through. Broke that one up. Mike will eat that one when it cools off. These are definitely a little bit better once they cool. So I definitely let them cool. It's a little bit harder on something like this to see when they're done if they're so dark like that. But you just kind of go, they're still going to be super soft. You do want to let these cool a bit. They're still going to be super soft to the touch, but you'll be able to get them off the pan. You just got to be a little careful, delicate, and then let them finish cooling on your cooling rack. I think I've last this video out there, which I talked about being able to freeze cookies. I do freeze these, and they do freeze very well. I haven't had much of an issue with some of the times when you have chocolate like chocolate chips or cocoa type baked goods, and you go to freeze those, they'll get kind of a whitish powdery looking color to them. I haven't had that issue really with these. This was another one that when I used to do huge boxes for Christmas gifts every year, that I'd be able to do these. I'd usually do these about a week or two before I would get those boxes together, and I didn't really have much issue with that. I mean, I would make thousands of cookies off and on between work for about 4 weeks there to get them all done. But I've got tons of different recipes. Like I said, these do freeze good. I just put them in either airtight container or a Ziploc bag. They do, once they cool down, they do stay pretty firm. I know that I've got a sugar cookie recipe and a spritz cookie recipe. If I ever freeze those, definitely just want an airtight container because they're a little fragile and they'll break if you throw them in a bag. Not these. If you have any questions, please comment. If you know anybody who'd love this recipe, please share it to them. If this is stuff you're interested in, you want to see more of it, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.
And this video that Joe did is like the Milwaukee Brewers baseball season. All done.